It is all the ups and downs that the Austrian business cycle theory explains. It has always been interference by the governments that creates problems and volatility. They've kept rates low for so long that it's just more of the same. Of course, something will happen. Of course, nobody can tell you exactly when. But the stock market crash will come. Rome took hundreds of years to finish collapsing. It's not if we know that. It's when, and nobody knows. After all, it's one of two things: we default on the debt, or we print and devalue. They are actually the same thing. Take cost now or defer over time. It's just not that complicated. The debt is just a future tax obligation. It is either paid by raising taxes, which is impossible, or they use the inflation tax by debasing the currency in order to monetize the debt. Those two options are one of the same. The key to successful investing is knowing when to buy and when to sell. This is true for stocks, bonds, real estate, and gold. When the current paradigm ends, the rush to gold will be nothing short of stunning. As stocks, bonds, and overpriced real estate drop precipitously. It's difficult for a lot of people to understand gold. Gold is not an investment. Gold is economical insurance. Most importantly, it is money. I don't hold gold for yield. In fact, I buy gold when it is dropping, not when it is going up. Fiat currency is not just thievery. Fiat currency is slavery. Ultimately, the most harmful effect of using debt of undefined value as money, i.e., fiat currencies, is the de facto legalization of a caste system based on voluntary slavery. The bankers have a charter, or the legal right, to create money out of nothing. You, and I, we don't. The bankers can create money out of nothing and buy your goods and services with this worthless fiat money, effectively for free. We can't. We have to lead miserable existences for most of us and work in order to obtain that effectively non-existent, worthless credit money, whose purchasing exchange value is not even defined. That the banker effortlessly creates out of thin air with a few strokes of the computer keyboard, and which they do not even bother to print on paper anymore, electing to keep it in its pure quantum uncertain form instead. As electrons whizzing about inside computer chips, which will become mute and turn silent, refusing to tell you how many fiat dollars or euros there are in which account, in the absence of electricity. No electricity, no fiat, nor crypto money. Only hard assets will be safe. USA debt obligations and budget deficits will force monetary expansion in the coming decade like never seen before. Trillions and trillions printed to pay for these bankrupted pensions. The US dollar will depreciate as a result. The US dollar may even collapse and become near worthless compared to today. Gold already near or at all-time highs in Australian and Canadian dollars, Mexican peso, Indian rupee, Brazilian real, etc. Once $1,900 is taken out, gold is going to $2,000 in short order. Silver is poised for even bigger gains. Gold stores value against paper money. Gold is even a hard value reality for the fiat money paper printers themselves. Why do the central banks want and buy gold? Nations are repatriating their gold reserves back into their own hands. Gold has never left the playing field. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to smash that like button. And as you know, friends, I rely totally on your donations to keep this channel functional. As you know, it takes a crazy amount of research and time to bring you this content on a daily basis, so I hope you consider helping with whatever donation you can afford. Thank you. The Fed is afraid of the consequences of debt credit monstrosity it unleashed, and their only choice is to blow an even bigger bubble. How big is the Fed's announced $60 billion per month treasury buying program? Big enough to run the entire US military. No wonder they call central bank intervention programs bazookas. The Fed is throwing $720 billion a year at the greatest economy ever, and we still cannot make new highs. Yes, this past week was a farce and had a bit of a reality TV touch to it. The Fed is being forced to buy treasuries due to the massive US deficits, and the fact that foreigners are no longer buying due to the strong dollar and cost of hedging. The eurodollar issues, and from an insider, the current repo problems reflect issues at Deutsche Bank and other European banks. Note the massive rally when the Fed announced QE. With respect to Treasury yields, the market was obviously front-running the QE announcement over the summer, and as it was announced, the market started selling. See the significant rise in the 10-year and steepening of the yield curve. The steepening of the yield curve will trigger the next recession. If equities correct significantly, the Fed will be back buying longer-term treasuries. They sure are trying their best. To do what? To goose markets higher. It's been quite the spectacle all year, but this Friday sure took the cake. The entire week had been a giant jerkfest of sudden rips and dips as headline-chasing algos were ripping through support and resistance levels unleashed like fat kids at the candy shop. But this Friday was something else, almost designed to have markets overdose on an insulin spike. The Fed is not confused. They know exactly what they are doing. And they are doing it with the help of our politicians who represent foreign interest. Money no longer circulates. It gets printed, distributed, facilitates maybe one transaction, and then is locked in the hoards of the obscenely wealthy, never to be seen by the public again. 90% of the population is thus impoverished, and unable to sustain themselves, let alone the economy. Money is not real, to begin with, as it was made up by man. It was literally created on the fly. When the currency is created as debt, which it is, it requires an ever-expanding currency supply forever. Say they print $1 million, and that's the only money there is. At 2% interest, that $1 million requires $1,020,000 to be paid back. Where's the extra $20 grand come from? It doesn't exist, so it has to be printed too. And you can't actually pay off the million, because then there'd be no money in circulation. So you have to reprint the million plus 20 grand. Now, if you want the economy to grow, that $1 million has to grow too. Otherwise, you'd have 0% GDP growth. So 1 million becomes 2 million. Well, now you owe 40 grand in interest. This has been the way the siren works for over a century now. Outer debts and our currency and our economy are all linked. Now for the real kick in the nuts. If you want the economy to keep growing at the same rate, the debt must grow at an exponential rate. If society is used to the growth rate from 1 million to 2 million, you can't just go to 3 million next time. From 1 to 2, it was 100%. From 2 to 3 would only be 50%. So you have to grow it from 2 to 4 million. Of course, then you owe 80 grand in interest. And the next printing has to go from 4 million to 8 million. And on it goes. Any attempted slowdown in the growth leads to economic contraction. That's what the QT over the last year did. So now we see the economy slow. So they have to print more. And even if they save the economy again, next time they will just have to print even more. This is the real crux of it all. The debt is literally required to grow not at a linear rate, but at an exponential one. The average human mind has trouble comprehending exponential growth, but we've reached the point where either we have the economy slow, or our debt goes full on a hockey stick at this point in the graph. Or, we get a new monetary system and currency and start over. Those are literally the only choices. Real wealth is not money. Wealth is real things like gold, farms and factories. The growth of real things is not very limited. When you spend a gold coin, the next guy is then able to spend it too. It is reused many times in a year. Ownership of real things can expand without expansion of the money supply. You pay the interest with ownership of the expanding real things. The Fed, as in feeding on people, is caught in their own trap. Instead of taking responsibility, they insist we look here, there and everywhere but never ever directly at them. This is precisely why they consistently lie about who is responsible and who's gonna pay. It's writing on the wall signed anonymous, but it's just all lies. People made money, and we can quite literally do anything at all we want with it, to it, etc. But make no mistake, it does not define us as a whole. The Feds made their bed and want someone else to sleep in it. As long as people keep pretending, the Feds, like they are a literal money tree god, and at the same time acting as if we are powerless in doing anything, we can do anything we want, the Feds retain their corrupt powers, and people just stand around like some chart is in control of them, instead of the other proper way round. Banks will be bailed out, but our masters know that the collapse of the economy will hurt the little people, in real terms, far more than the banksters. The banksters have their billions stashed away offshore, in secret places. The little people, roughly 90% of the population, will have nothing in a collapse, no backstop at all, no equity left in their homes, no jobs, nothing. The real pain will be felt by them. And so, that fact provides the moral justification, in the minds of the Fed and the government, to keep bailing out the system. Anything that is severely abused will fail. It simply is the way this universe works. Have precious metals and live near an Amish community, you'll be fine unless nuclear war breaks out. That is the great equalizer, nobody escapes. Stock up on both goods and precious metals. Can't wait to see all of America's golf courses converted to growing wheat, corn, and veggies, with Wall Street types becoming farm laborers. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels, I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.